Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me this morning from the Fitchburg Historical Society, it's Rich. Do I even want to say your last name?
Not Rick.
Not Rick.
Eggleston.
Yeah. See, we have Rick Eilertson on the show, and it took me forever to get his last name down. So I'm just gonna skip it. Rich, thank you for coming back and being a guest on the show. Always love having you aboard here. Today we're gonna pick up with stories from early Fitchburg.
Right.
Right.
And very early Fitchburg.
Very, very early Fitchburg.
We start with 1837 when John Stoner started his first farm in Fitchburg, and that was where Stoner's Prairie is now. So if you are a very, very early settler, you get a prairie named after you. And he lived in Madison during the weekends, and then during the week he came out to Fitchburg and he lived in a little shanty, three-sided campfire outside, and that's how he lived because he wanted his kids to go to school, and apparently they could go to school in Madison. I find that hard to believe, but something.
So you're telling me that this person has this home, during the week in Madison, and then on the weekends escapes to a vice versa, switches to a three-sided room.
Yeah, with a campfire outside.
Campfire to keep you warm. That is incredible.
And so that was 1837. By 1842, there were two guys who were looking for land in Fitchburg. And this was William Roman and Dr. William Fox. The Roman family ended up settling in my neighborhood. But these guys got lost in the woods, and they came to they came to a hunting camp, and so there was a whole bunch of deer sitting out because Fitchburg had a lot of deer, and they helped themselves to some venison steaks, and then they found their way back to Quivy's Grove, which Quivy's Grove was at a little inn near where the corner of Fish Hatchery Road and Highway M is today. And they found the innkeeper and the hunters, this is the frontier. You're welcome to some venison. And the hunters went back, and they ended up buying land in Fitchburg, 1842, probably about $10 an acre.
Ridiculous. But that's the time of the season. It'd be hard to imagine, and I mean, part of Fitchburg, we still have so much vast rural areas and whatnot, but it's just, it's crazy to think what it was before.
It was not just wilderness, but it was the frontier, and there was at this time, somebody, I think maybe the Dane County Board, if they existed, put a $3 a head bounty on wolves.
To prevent it from, that's interesting. $3 bounty on each wolf you captured, or?
Yeah, or cut off the head, or did something to it. And so that was Fitchburg, and the last time I did Talking Fitchburg, we talked about a bear that ran into some settlers. This at the time, 1840 or very early 1840s, there were so few people who lived in Fitchburg. Maybe a handful of families. I could name some of them who are still there, who are still here. But what they did, the Quivy's Grove was a stage coach stop, and where the mule drivers ran their oxen through, through the old lead road, which actually goes through my backyard
Oh, really?
in Fitchburg. And if there's a picture, the next slide probably shows there's a map of the old. There it is.
Where it cut through.
Yeah, so it cut through, and it stopped at Quivy's Grove, and it went from Mineral Point to Milwaukee, and that's how they got lead for the bullets that fought probably the Mexican-American War or something. So,
So the Quivy's Grove was still located at the highway. Was this the Highway M and Fish Hatchery Road location then?
Yes.
That's part of this
yeah.
this map here. Do we know when did Quivy's Grove then move to its current location?
Well, it disappeared for a long time, and then the people who remodeled the Mann House decided to create a restaurant, and they named it the Quivy's Grove. The old horse barn is still there, and a friend of mine remodeled that, and so that's a very, very historic thing. A friend of mine who's no longer with us remembered playing in the loft of the horse barn.
At the first location, at the Highway M and Fish
No,
Hatchery, or at
the Mann House.
At the Mann House. Okay, wow, that's pretty incredible.
So there, and that was not that long ago.
No, it it really wasn't. And when you think of where Fitchburg is today, I mean,
Right.
even in the last 50 years, 60 years, it's
26,000 people today. Less than 5,000 in the 1980s, in the early 80s. So
it's incredible.
And look at all those apartment buildings that are going up. There's even more of them.
Right.
So
I tell you what, Rich, we got to take a break. We'll have you come back on here at the end of the show here right now, and we'll wrap it up. All right.
Okay.
So let's take a quick break. We'll have Rich right back on here on the show. Stay tuned. It is Talking Fitchburg. Welcome back to Talking Fitchburg. Rick Eggelston is here from the Fitchburg Historical Society, and we're picking up on our early Fitchburg, and we've got some photos here that we do want to look at that kind of help tell the story.
These are illustrations from Tom Kinney's book on the history of Fitchburg, 1840 to 1860. Here's how they used to get around with oxen, covered wagons, walking, which is basically what John Stoner did. And they had very primitive roads. And there's an the next slide shows an ox cart. And this is from Fitchburg. We're not exactly sure who it was, though. Then the next slide shows the William Fox cabin in the early 1800s, the 1840s.
And where is that located?
This
the
is
relationship today?
This is it's no longer.
Well, I mean, it's no longer there, but where we talk?
It was around where the prison is.
Okay. That's a pretty wooded area back there.
Yeah, and this was 1844. Then the next slide shows the Kinney log cabin. Oh, I guess the previous slide was 1843. This one is 1844, and there they are sitting outside. That's what people would do. They would sit outside and get their pictures taken.
Incredible stuff, Rich. Certainly, if you want to find out more information, head over to the library where they've got some of this stuff on display.